Hello everyone, we're here at the Nürburgring. Are you ready for another race here in the DTM? We certainly are, and as you can see, it is raining, so completely different conditions compared to yesterday, because yesterday we had sunshine and it was hot, but we're still expecting a very hot race today. But first of all, of course, we've got the qualifying, and half-time champion is Kelvin Van Der Linde. He's already sitting in the car, focusing, ready for the qualifying, because obviously it's all about the valuable points today, and as always, obviously he needs to collect the points, but he seems almost unbeatable, that's for sure. An absolutely amazing start into this season he's got, and yeah, let's see what the qualifying will bring, and surely everyone's gonna fight really hard, so expect a wet but cool qualifying. Enjoy. Here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Morning, everybody. Chris Hartley here in the commentary box, overlooking an increasingly grey and overcast Nurburgring. I'm just opposite the pit lane. I can see it's becoming a hive of activity because the rain only started about 5 minutes ago, and the forecast, the weather radar, is that we're going to have a light rain to start with for the first half of qualifying, and then it looks like it's going to get a bit heavier as it goes along. So the prediction is that it's not going to dry up, it's going to get worse, if anything. So last-minute changes coming for setups on cars, drivers, with no feel really of what this is going to be like, because by and large it's been dry so far this weekend. We had a little bit of rain in the last 2 minutes of the first free practice session on Friday, but otherwise the weather has been pretty good for the most part. It's cooler as well, as you'd expect, with the cloud cover that we've now got. 4 degrees cooler than yesterday. It's 15 degrees here, and the track temperature is the big thing, because that has rocketed down. It was 28 degrees yesterday, the track temperature. It's now only 16 degrees. So they're keen to get out as expected, because this could be the driest part of the session. It could be the quickest part of the session, but not necessarily so, because the track hasn't really got that wet yet. The rain's only been coming lightly to start with for 5 or 6 minutes, and certainly the last qualifying session for the DTM Trophy was dry right up until the finish. So there's no real surface water as yet. It's greasy and damp rather than wet, and in those conditions, treaded wet tyres don't necessarily work at their best. It might be when the rain gets a bit heavier, but before it gets too heavy, that the quicker times come in the session. Nonetheless, they'll want to get out there and get a feel for it straight away. There's Kelvin Van Der Linde, who had an excellent drive through the order in yesterday's race, having had to come from a long way down the field towards the back of the grid. He made his way up in the end to 6th place, because the overnight news which came through to us at about 8:30 last night is that there was a post-race penalty for Stotz, who finished on the podium. It was because of a pit lane infringement. He actually came close to running into one of the mechanics from the Group M team, so he was given a 30-second penalty, which has put him down to 9th place. So the new result, as we look at Marcus Winkelhock, who was somebody else that picked up a penalty yesterday for his collision with Liam Lawson. Otherwise, that car would have been up in the top 10, the Audi, but in the end, he finished down in 16th place. But plenty of speed for Marcus. You know, it's all about changeable conditions at this circuit, given what he did here in Formula One on his one and only Grand Prix start. So the new order from yesterday's race, top two, now Kelvin Van Der Linde, Philip Ellis promoted into 2nd place, and Mike Rockenfeller promoted onto the podium to 3rd place. Now, I spoke to Rocky after the race yesterday. He loved the race. He had a massive smile on his face. He said, "Oh, did you see this move? Did you see that move? I absolutely loved that last few minutes of the race." And he said, actually, it's ideal because I get the points for 3rd, but I don't have to carry the success ballast in the race because I was 4th on the road. It was a guest driver, Stotz, in front of me, who can't score points but does take their weight. But that's now changed, of course, because Mike's been promoted to 3rd place. He doesn't get any more points than he would have got, but he does have to carry some success ballast in the race this afternoon. Although success ballast might not be such a big issue if it is a wet race, which it could well be. 49% chance of rain between 1 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, so who knows. But certainly for now, that rain looks like it's getting heavier looking out of the commentary box window. So Max Stotz was promoted to 4th yesterday. He's moved up to 2nd in the championship. Marco Vittman, who was the driver carrying the most success ballast yesterday, he won the previous race at Zolder, which means he had 25 kilograms of ballast on board. He is promoted to 5th. Kelvin Van Der Linde promoted to 6th place. Nico Muller, who picked up 2 5-second penalties, one for track infringements, track limits infringements, and the other for contact with another car. Nico moves up to 7th place, which is a good return, given he was back on the 8th row of the grid yesterday. And then Daniel Hunkadea 8th, and Lucas Stotz put back down to 9th, and Arjun Maini in 10th place, having scored his first DTM Championship point. Right, the 20-minute session underway to set the grids for this afternoon's 55-minute plus 1-lap race. You can hear the wheel spin on board the Rover Racing BMW of Kelvin Van Der Linde as he tiptoes his way into the first corner here on this 3.6-kilometre long circuit at the Nurburgring. And on cold tyres, no tyre warmers allowed in DTM. It is a bit treacherous out there. It's going to be a real case of drivers just feeling their way through. Like Marcus Winkelhock getting on with it, passing through there on the left, as you saw from the onboard camera. But it's every time he gets on the throttle, just twitching away from him at the moment. Correcting it coming out of turn 4. Very, very slippy indeed. We could have a very different looking grid for this afternoon's race. Kelvin Van Der Linde has been the best qualifier by far so far this season, both on average and in terms of the number of pole positions he's got. Increasing his championship lead after yesterday's 3 points for qualifying on pole. There he is. And for the race win, his 3rd of the season. So he's on 129 points now, 45 clear of Max Gotts, who's got 84. Liam Lawson didn't score yesterday. Spoke to Liam briefly after the race yesterday as well, and he was a bit downbeat, as you can imagine, having not scored any points and having had that contact with Marcus Winkelhock towards the end of the race, unfortunately for him. But Liam...
Boxing now, boxing now. Copy, box.
Sheldon's headed straight back for the pits, not happy. Liam Lawson said we get in the most out of this car at the moment. We just can't get it any faster. It was the worst performance, worst result at least for the AF Corsa team yesterday so far in DTM for the pair of them, because Alex Albon didn't finish either. The team told me it was a puncture that put Alex out of the race in the end yesterday. Had a couple of pieces of contact, one which spun him right down the order early on. He stayed out late, and then when he did come in to make his pit stop, he never went back out again. So a puncture, and they could have got him back out, but he was never going to get any points, so opted to retire the car. Right, wet tyres going back on. There's no limit on the number of wet tyres that you can use throughout the course of a weekend, unlike you get with the Michelin slick tyres. There's number 12, Christopher Haas, one of the retirees yesterday, going out. The McLaren of Christian Klein just after, and this is the top runners in the championship. Kelvin Van Der Linde and Liam Lawson having a bit of a coming together, which sent the championship leader spinning around. So 1st and 3rd in the championship coming together. Liam Lawson trying to inch up the inside. That looks like it's into turn 4, and just clatters into the sides of Kelvin Van Der Linde. I don't think there'll be any damage to the car. Not the only one going off the road either, because Daniel Hunkadea has had a wide moment there, and Liam Lawson going off as well down the escape road. It's worth pointing out that we did have a dry start today, but there was really heavy rain overnight for a period. It was so loud on the roof of the hotel, it woke me up a couple of times last night. It was really, really heavy, so it stopped by this morning and started to dry out. But that grass will be absolutely sodden from the overnight rain, so you put a wheel on that, even with wet tyres, you're going to be in trouble. See Liam Lawson fighting against the wheel here as he makes his way out of the Coca-Cola curve to start what, hopefully from his point of view, will be a better lap. So Max Gotts has gone through with a 137.286. I suspect the times are going to come down and down as they get used to the conditions. And Max has already set the absolute best first sector of the race. So they're about 11 seconds off the dry pace at the moment. Amma Muller into 2nd with a 137.551. Lucas Stotz has been quick all weekend long, 3rd with a 138.451. But Max Gotts now, the first driver to break the 50-second barrier through Sector 1, the first half of the lap. Absolute best in Sector 2. And the driver 2nd in the championship, not scared of riding the curbs through the Vidal chicane either. Just slightly slower through the first sector on his lap is Philip Ellis. will now have to carry 18 kilograms of success ballast going into this afternoon's race. They don't carry the ballast in qualifying, so this should be the new fastest lap of the session. Surely, yes, it will be for Max Stotz. It's a 1:37.130. Takes another tenth of a second away. Ellis is going to be up there. He's already in 4th place, Philip Ellis. However, he's found traffic, hasn't he? He's got onto the back of the number 22, Lucas Auer, driven Mercedes coming into the last part of the lap, and that will perhaps cost him a better lap than he might. Yeah, still 4th. He might have been higher than that. Van der Linde gone 2nd for now. Ammermuller 3rd. Hankadea, absolute best 2nd sector. And Kelvin Van Der Linde's car is OK, everybody, because he's just set personal best sector 1, absolute best sector 2. Can he get to the top of the times? We're about to find out. He charges for the line, looking for another pole position, looking for another 3 points. He goes 2nd. So 2nd place for Van Der Linde, but it's close. He was only 40 thousandths of a second away from Götz's time. You've got Liam Lawson putting a good lap as well, up to 5th place. He had a wry smile on his face yesterday after the race when I said, I bet you'll be doing a rain dance tonight, won't you? And he said, yeah, let's see. I think he would quite like some rain, because the Ferrari struggling, and Liam certainly suggesting yesterday to me that he'd like the BOP, the balance of performance, to be looked at, as we see a replay of Christopher Haas getting loose and then getting through the gravel trap. But I think surviving, he just about got it pointed in the right direction. Great car control, that, from the former Nurburgring 24-hour race winner, double 24-hour race winner here. There you can see on the pit wall, nearest to you, Thomas Biermeier, who's the team principal for Abt Sportsline. Increased their lead in the championship yesterday. It was their 70th win, Abt Sportsline, in the DTM yesterday, thanks to Kelvin Van Der Linde. They got their first ever wins 1 and 2 here at the Nürburgring 20 years ago, back in 2001. 70th win for the team in DTM yesterday, as we now see Max Buch coming up into 7th place. Stotz is on a good lap though, and it doesn't improve in the last sector, so 8th place for him. And anybody on a fly, we've got quite a few green sector times, which means they're doing personal best throughout the lap, but no absolute bests currently. Not that you have to do an absolute best all the way through the lap to get the fastest lap. Just put in consistent green sector times, you can still do it. Is this going to be an improvement for Liam Lawson? He's 7th at the moment. Alex Albon, his teammate, has gone into 6th place. So the Ferrari's enjoying the conditions more. Michael Ammermuller there, who made the first ever DTM start for Porsche yesterday, but the race didn't go according to plan. He made contacts in what was a pretty dramatic start yesterday early on, damage to the car, and was out very early. He's gone 3rd. Very quick with newer tyres on in the practice sessions on Friday. Went quicker on Saturday, but everybody else went much quicker on the newer tyres, which they had to save because as a guest driver coming in for your first DTM weekend, you get a couple of extra sets of slick tyres, which the regulars didn't benefit from. So he benefited from that in practice. Struggled a bit in qualifying and didn't get much of a race yesterday, but Ammermuller, great driver, the 3-time Super Cup champion, reigning GT Masters champion. Christian Klein trying to push on as well. We've got Hankadea 5th, Albert 6th, Christopher Haas up to 7th. They're the 3 that have improved. Sheldon Van Der Linde's just improved his lap, but he's only up to 16th at the moment. Götz comes into the pits in front of me in the commentary box, so see him heading back for a breather, a break, and to try and figure out what to do with the setup to find a bit more time, because his advantage is minimal. 40 thousandths of a second quicker than Kelvin Van Der Linde, and only 63 thousandths of a second quicker than Michael Ammermuller, who's in 3rd place. What about Philip Ellis? Can he find a bit more time? No. Get some personal best sector times. Rockenfeller's gone 6th though. He ought to have qualified in the top 7 or 8 yesterday, but his best lap was taken away for track limits infringements in qualifying 1 up at the chicane, which is why he had to come from 16th on the grid. A terrific drive from Rocky yesterday. He's having a really strong season. Esteban Moot's on a better lap here. Liam Lawson is still only just in the top 10, and Moot goes into 4th place, 1:37.337 in the T3 Motorsport Run Lamborghini. There's Götz, who's come in. We've got a few others in as well. Hankadea, Muller, Hout, Glock and Hawkey have all made their way into the pits. This is a big ask for Esme Hawkey. She's never been to this circuit before. She had very limited time in the car before the start of the season, and she won't have done any laps at all in the damp or wet conditions at Nürburgring. So this is going to be a testing weekend for her. Not that far away from the top pace, but it's so tight that even half a second or so puts you in the bottom half of the field. So the whole field at the moment covered by just 1.3 seconds, and the top 21 are covered by 9/10 of a second, all within a second of each other, which is very tight given the conditions. It tends to usually spread out a bit more in these damp and wet conditions. Right, Rocky on a charge. First sector wasn't an absolute best, but it was a pretty good one. It wasn't far away. Sector 2 was good. I think he's going to improve upon 9th place. Whether it'll be close enough to challenge for the front row, not sure, but he looks neat and tidy. And Rocky is a very, very strong wet weather driver. Comes out of the final turn, goes over the line, and into 7th place, gains a couple of positions. Alex Albon was a bit slower than Rocky through the first sector, but matched him through sector 2. Not sure he's going to improve on his overall best lap. It's going to be tight. He does, just about, and it's enough to put him up 4 places, in fact. So he goes from 8th to 4th, even though he only finds 10th of a second or so. Liam Lawson has gone 6th as well, so the 2 Ferraris, loving the conditions. They'll be hoping the rain stays this afternoon. And another moment for Christopher Haas as we see a replay of him taking the Audi off the road, absolutely splattering the holdings there with mud, because that's what I was saying. It was so much rain last night that even though it's only just started to rain here just before qualifying, the grass is absolutely soaking. You get on it, you got no chance. However, he just about, thanks to the wheel spin and giving it a full right foot, managed to avoid hitting the barrier, I think. So the Rosberg Audi comes in. Gotts is fastest. He's back out on track. Kelvin Van Der Linde, the championship leader, is 2nd. He's in the pits. Michael Ammermuller is in the pits as well. He's 3rd quickest. You've got Albon up to 4th. Esteban moved 5th. Liam Lawson 6th. Vincent Abril 7th. Daniel Hunkedea, Marco Vittman, who's just come up to 9th. And then Mike Rockenfeller's back down to 10th place now. They're all out in the top 10, apart from Kelvin Van Der Linde. Ammermuller's gone back out now as well. And that's a very good first sector from Alex Albon. That's a couple of tenths quicker than he'd gone before. He's matched pretty much his previous best second sector. What's he need to find? Well, he's only 95 thousandths of a second away from pole position. Even though he's 4th, he's within a 10th. And he's only 32 thousandths of a second behind Ammermuller in 3rd. So this, if he holds it together through this last corner, might just improve him up towards the front row of the grid. No, he can't find the time in the last sector. So Alex's laps are 1:37.8 in the end. Unfortunately, it all fell away late on, but it was looking like a good lap at one point. Esteban Moot not on an absolute screamer here, but it's good enough to put him up to 5th. The last sector was good. So 1:37.337 for Esteban Moot. And we've got Liam Lawson with a quick in and out. He's had a couple of excursions, had that contact early on with Kelvin Van Der Linde, but it was fairly gentle, square-on contact, so both cars look absolutely fine. Both going well. Van Der Linde 2nd, Lawson 6th. Here's a replay of Vincent Abril. Probably about to have a moment, I guess. Yeah, going straight on, just understeering. Look at the state of the grass there, what's left of it anyway. All you can do is ease off, steer it in, turn the wheel, and hope it digs in before you get to the barriers, which it did. Luckily, not most of the speed off before he got there, but he was never going to make the corner. And the problem with this is the more drivers run off the road and come back onto the circuit, the more mud and grit and generally not very grippy stuff they bring back onto the track. So it makes life harder for everybody else. Kelvin Van Der Linde going back out then. You're right on board with him as he rejoins just behind the rocket-sponsored Lamborghini of Esme Hawke, who's just found her best lap as well. Up to 21st with a 1:38.062. That now means everybody bar one driver are within 9/10 of a second of each other. The whole field is covered by 1.1 seconds at the moment. Luki Auer is at the back of the field with a 1:38.2. But it's worth persevering. You find 1 or 2 tenths of a second, you find 3 or 4 places on the grid, or maybe even 3 or 4 rows, it's that close. Good lap for Hunkedea, up to 5th with that one. 1:37.301. Puts him just under 2 tenths of a second away from provisional pole. Is Philip Ellis then, runner-up yesterday in the race and picking up his 2nd podium finish of the year. Team Winwood going well in the overall championship as well for teams. They're into 3rd place behind Apple Sportsline and AF Corsa. And Alex Albon into the pits briefly, but has now just gone back out. So I think everybody on circuit at the moment for this last 5 minutes or so of the session. What's this? Replay on board with Max Gotts, and same corner, same problem. Down at the hairpin, he just can't get the car turned in. He just about avoided going through the grass, I think, but it was not a quick line. Esme Hawke with a very good first sector as well. That's only a tenth or so away from the best first sector. Oh, sorry, no, it's 49.5 now. He's now the best first sector, so about 3/10 down. And the lap itself, not an improvement. Arjun has just improved up to 12th place, the driver that finished 10th yesterday. And Lukas Stotz goes second. So Lukas Stotz, 1:37, 1:30. It's exactly the same lap time as Max Gotts. Exactly, 1:37.130. But Gotts set the time first, so he's going to get pole position as it stands. But there's a long way to go. Even though there's only 4 3/4 minutes left on the clock, I think lots could change in this session still. So Stotz matches the lap time of the provisional pole sitter, but because he did it afterwards, it's not enough to put him on pole position. Kelvin Van Der Linde, third, but only 40 thousandths of a second away from pole. Ammermuller, fourth, 63 thousandths of a second away from pole. And fifth, Daniel Hunkerdea, 69 thousandths of a second away from pole, with sixth place, Alex Albon, 95 thousandths of a second adrift. It's nothing, is it? Absolutely tight as you like out there. No improvements in terms of lap times last time round. Got Moot and Book into the pits now, from 7th and 14th in the order respectively. Philippe is still struggling to find that bit more pace. He's only 7/10 of a second away, but that's 17th place, unfortunately. I know he's carrying, well, I know he'll be carrying success ballast in the race as well, which may well hinder him if it's dry, particularly. Yesterday, Kelvin Van Der Linde saying to me, it just feels lazy, the car. When you've got 25 kilograms on board, it just feels like it's washing out everywhere, and it gets worse as the race goes on and the tyre degradation kicks in. It really starts to feel a bit lethargic, the car. Even 25 kilograms. British touring cars, you get 75 kilograms if you win a race or lead the championship. Think of that. So, replays again of a bit more contact, just a tiny bit, with Michael Ammermuller into the back of Kelvin Van Der Linde. Kelvin's in the wars here. He's had everybody hitting him so far, but he survives. Nothing deliberate, but it's hard to slow the cars down in these conditions. Arjun Mainy's gone into the top 10. Lucas Auer's improved, but only up to 20th. Good lap coming from Daniel Hunkerdea. This should move him up the order, and it does, right to the top of the times. 1:36.958. He ended up getting the points at least for pole position at Monza, although he didn't actually start on pole. It was only after the event that points were taken away and pole position was taken away from Vansel Abril. So this would be his first proper pole position of the season. Christian Klein has just improved to 9th in the McLaren. Can Ellis find any more time? This looks better. Surely he's going to get close to the top 10 with this one, as long as that last sector is okay. Close, not in the top 10, 11th. We've got 2 minutes, 24 seconds left on the clock. And we've got Daniel Hunkerdea now joined on the front row of the grid by Alex Albon with a 1:37.053. We've had lap times cancelled as well, with several incidents, bits of contact under investigation as well. So the Lawson Van Der Linde moment under investigation from earlier on, being reported to the stewards. Cancellation of lap times for Ammermuller and Klein as well for track limits, I think. We've got Daniel Hunkerdea by 95 thousandths of a second, hanging on to pole position as it stands. Michael Ammermuller up to third. You can see the rain worsening as predicted by the forecast. Visibility now becoming an issue as well as more and more spray kicks off of the tyres. We've got Mike Rockenfeller improving up to 8th place. It's Hunkerdea, Albon, Ammermuller, Gotts 4th, Stotz in 5th, Kelvin Van Der Linde in 6th place. Used to see Kelvin on pole position, not out of it yet. Did set a personal best first sector last time around, but the lap wasn't an improvement overall. Finding a clear lap might become increasingly difficult as well. Christian Klein has had a lap taken away from him then, which dumped him back down to 17th. Can he get back into the top 10 with this? Yes, he can. The ex-Grand Prix racer goes into 7th place, and Alex Albon sets the absolute best second sector. Here he is, trying to get himself onto pole position. He needs to find just under 1/10 of a second and get into the high 1:36s. 1:36.958 is the time to beat. He comes to the line now. He crosses the line, goes through, and it's a 1:36.773. Alex Albon on pole position with just 42 seconds to go. Can anybody pip him to the post? What about Marco Vittman? Not absolute best sectors, but this is going to be close as well. He's certainly going to be up at the sharp end. Maybe front row, maybe top 3, maybe if he gets a good run out of this corner, he could go for pole position as well. He's quite going to do it. No, lost time there at the end, so 8th place. It is an improvement though. Albon fastest, Hungary second, Muller improved his lap to third, and Kelvin Van Der Linde, who's the king of late drama in qualifying. Think back to the Lawson where he came from nowhere to get pole position. What could he do here? Absolute best first sector. Really good, strong start to the lap with a 49.448. Cleans on a good lap, but he's 2 tenths down in the first sector. At the moment, Kelvin Van Der Linde is 18th. The flag is now out, the time is up. This is the last chance for Sheldon to improve. It's an okay second sector, but he needs a really good third sector. He's definitely going to improve his position, but it's not by enough. 16th place, despite the terrific start to the lap. Christian Klein might improve as well, but he's not going to challenge up at the sharp end. Hunkadeo has taken the flag. He's going to have to settle for at best second on the grid. Anybody else on a flyer out there? Well, Muller, personal best through the first sector. It was pretty good, but it was 3 tenths down on the best first sector that we've had. So he's down in 18th at the moment. He ought to improve. I'm not sure he's going to have enough to be right at the front, but he could get into the top 10 with this, which would be a marked improvement on yesterday. So Muller, the last challenger here. We've got Marco Vittman actually out there going well as well, just behind him, and he did do a very good first sector. Personal best in sector 1, almost matching the very best that we saw. Still twitchy out there, cars dancing around. Here comes Muller. Vittman might be the one to watch, though, in terms of times. He's the quicker of the two in the BMW. Surely going to get in the top 10, Marco Vittman. But how high up the order can he get? Muller comes through, crosses the line, 18th, I'm afraid, and Marco Vittman, right at the end, comes up to third place. So third in the BMW, Mike Rockenfeller in 9th place. Kelvin Van Der Linde's on a decent lap. I'm not sure it's going to challenge for pole position, but he might improve from 7th place here. He's about a 10th down on the best through sector 1. He's a couple of tenths down on the best sector 2 time. But he could well get himself into the top 5 or 6 if he gets this good run to the line. No, 7th place. So 7th for Kelvin Van Der Linde. So 1:37.290. It was a valiant effort, but in the end, the whole lap was about 1/10 of a second slower than his best. So Alex Albon, pole position, 1:36.773. AF Corsa, Ferrari, pole position in DTM. Had an awful day yesterday, no luck whatsoever. It just wasn't their day, but today it has turned around. Well, so far it has, qualifying at least. Not everybody has made it back to the pits. It's Lucas Auer stranded by the looks of it. Another great charging drive from Marco Vittman. So he is going to start third. Relatively big gaps between the top 2 or 3. Nearly 2 tenths of a second. And they are delighted down at Valkenhorst with their man, the double champion, Marco Vittman, who's very much still involved in this year's championship fight. We're not yet halfway through the season, not until after the race this afternoon, and he keeps on bagging points. There you can see the cloud is starting to break, so who knows what we'll get this afternoon, but it is a terrific effort from Alex Albon, who has generally struggled a little bit so far this season in qualifying. His previous best, a 4th place, but that was the only time he was in the top 6. And now he's gone straight to pole position. Albon, Hunkadeo, Vittman in the top 3, Muller 4th, Gotts in 5th, Stotz in 6th. Championship leader Kelvin Van Der Linde 7th. And remember with 25 kilograms of success ballast on board for the race. Christian Klein 8th, Mike Rockenfeller 9th, Esteban Moot in 10th, Liam Lawson 11th, so he'll be very disappointed with that, but it's only 6 tenths off the pace. Abril 12th, Ellis 13th, will be a bit disappointed, but it was worse for a while. Miney 14th, Haas 15th, Sheldon Van Der Linde 16th, Max Boog 17th, Nico Muller back in 18th place. Qualifying not happening for him so far this weekend, and then Hubert Happ 19th, Timo Glock back in 20th, Auer 21st, Winkelhock and Hawkey 22nd and 23rd. So it's a first pole position in the DTM for AF Corsa, for Alex Albon and for Ferrari. Been on the front row before with Liam Lawson a couple of times this season, but that was quite the performance. I said it would be an interesting looking grid. The rain always mixes it up. Daniel Hunkadeo thought he got it with a minute or 2 to go. Looked like he was going to get what would have been technically his 2nd pole position of the season, but front row start for Daniel. I think he'll be pretty happy with that. And in a session in which you kind of just had to survive and get through it, really. Marco Vittman in 3rd, the last of the improvers. Just under 3 tenths of a second adrift. Remember, at one stage in that qualifying, the top 2 split by 0.000 seconds. But in the end, Alex Albon with a convincing performance to take his maiden pole position in the DTM. Just what he needed after failing to score points yesterday. and dropping to 7th in the championship. This is only time he hasn't finished a race this season. It was only the 2nd time Alex has been out of the points this year. He's been very consistent generally. As is this man, Marco Vittman, 4th in the championship. Points in every single race so far. You've only got Kelvin Van Der Linde and Mike Rockenfeller that have matched that achievement so far this year. So truly international. Look to the grid it's going to be at the sharp end. Thai driver Alex Albon on pole position, Spaniard Daniel Hungadea 2nd, German driver Marco Vittman starting in 3rd place. We've got a Ferrari on pole, a Mercedes 2nd, a BMW 3rd, a Porsche 4th with Michel Ammermuller, and then 2 Mercedes, Gotts and Stotz 5th and 6th. With the best of the Audis, Kelvin Van Der Linde starting in 7th place. McLaren out there again, another good result, equaling his best so far for Christian Klein in 8th. Audi of Rockefeller 9th, and Lamborghini of Moot in 10th place. 23 drivers, 7 manufacturers, and as if it wasn't unpredictable and wide open enough this season, it's going to be even more so if we get some weather like this afternoon, which is 50-50 at the moment. So super slow-mos of your top 3. Marco Vittman attacking the curbs despite the slippery nature of the circuit to come through right at the end of the session. Almost the last to cross the line. He came up to 3rd place. Daniel Hungadea thought he got pole position. In the end, he has to settle for a front row start. And it's a maiden pole position in the DTM, and only his 4th weekend in the championship, his 4th weekend driving these types of cars for Alex Albon, the F1 reserve and development driver for Red Bull Racing. So Alex taking pole position by 0.185 seconds in what was a testing but very enjoyable qualifying session. Right, let's hear from some of the stars of qualifying. Down with Verena.
And I've got Marco Vittman here. Marco, it's the 3rd time that you're in P3. How does it feel? And do you think from there, obviously you have a good chance for the race in these tricky conditions. What do you think can you do in the race later on?
Well, it's a big question what the weather actually does, you know. Does it dry up? Do we have a wet race or even mixed conditions? Who knows? Will be a very tricky race, but so far, I mean, happy, you know. P3 is definitely a good starting position. Something which also, again, we did probably not expect in the wet to be that strong, but I pretty got the last lap together and put us on P3, so very happy about this. Obviously, the car felt pretty good in the wet even. So, yeah, looking forward to the race. Obviously, yeah, in the Eifel, I think the only weather prediction is looking in the sky and nothing else, so let's see.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much, Marco. And we're going to grab Alex Albon here. Alex, congratulations. It's your best result so far in qualifying, your first pole in DTM, so are you thrilled about that?
Yeah, very good. Honestly, when it was raining, we were a little bit worried about how the tyres are going to feel. But straight away, there was a lot of grip, and yeah, the car felt really good. So surprised actually to get pole position, but you know, we'll take it and let's get ready for later on today.
It's a good surprise. So
yeah,
let's see for the race. Thank you so much, Alex. Back to the commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Yeah, after yesterday, if you'd asked Alex Albon if you'd be on pole position in, 12 hours' time, I don't think he'd have quite believed you. But as Marco said, you can never quite predict the weather in this part of Germany. And in fact, the rain was predicted all the way through the weekend, if it was going to come at all, to come on Sunday. But whether it will stay, how much there will be, whether it will be mixed conditions, who knows? But it should make for very interesting racing. We've got a very interesting looking grid. You've got Kelvin Van Der Linde, the championship leader, a little bit further back than he would have liked in 7th. It's no disaster, but remember, he's got 25 kilograms of success ballast on board the car. You've got Philip Ellis, who's up there 5th in the championship. He's back in 13th place, and having finished 2nd yesterday, he's also got to lug around 18 kilograms of success ballast. And then Marco Vittman will be very pleased with 3rd, but he does have to put 15 kilograms of success ballast onto the Volkenhorst BMW for the race this afternoon. It's all to look forward to then from me, Chris Hartley, in the commentary box. That's it for now, but we're going to head back for one more interview and back to Verena in the pit lane.
And I'm here with Daniel Hungadea. Danny, in Monza, you're at a pole position, now you're in P2. So good start for the race later on. First question, how's your thumb doing? How's your hand doing? And what's your feeling for the race later on?
Yeah, seems pretty good, you know. It seems to be that I found my talent back with one hand, driving with one hand. I mean, yesterday P4, today P2 in quali. So very good. I feel very good. Also in these conditions, I feel especially strong. I was happy with the car, with the changes we did in the session. I think we did the right moves. And yeah, very confident if this keeps going like this. I mean, the thumb is obviously a bit annoying when I'm driving, but it's not hurting or anything at all, which is the most important thing, to recover it quickly. And yeah, for the race we'll see. I mean, typical Eiffel weather, which is always a big question.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you so much, Danny.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see what the race will bring later on. You never know here in the Eifel, as Danny said. But yeah, obviously tricky conditions here, but it's going to make it very exciting for us. So see you later on. And now here are the highlights of the qualifying. Enjoy and see you later.